Hey guys, what's up? I'm making this video for you guys because I've had some people tell me that they wish they could learn how to play the game and learn how to improve, but obviously you guys aren't really going to watch random videos, which I understand. So I was just going to make a little basic guide for some things that you might want to know when playing this game. First thing, real quick, just a little preface for you. Sensitivity. Obviously, everybody has their own sensitivity. You really want something that's not too low, as it'll make it hard to turn and actually make it hard to move around, you know? For example, if my sensitivity is like this, here you can see that, yes, I can be good at doing these little micro motions, but I'm not very good at, say, if someone's behind me, I need to turn around really quickly. But you obviously also don't want it too fast, otherwise you're not really going to be able to aim as accurate and you have to make a bunch of adjustments. I'm going to put a picture of some of the average pro player senses here. If you don't know your DPI, there's ways to figure it out. I have a Logitech mouse and the Logitech software on my computer basically just says, hey, this is your DPI. So go ahead and figure that out. First thing we're going to talk about is crosshair placement. So crosshair placement is really important. It's basically the secret to good aim. And the key is, let's use this wall as an example. You want to try to be aiming head level vertically. You want to try to be aiming head level, and you want to try to be aiming maybe a little bit off from the wall. Head level is pretty self-explanatory because, if someone peeks me out here, I'm going to be aiming head level. When I peek out, I'm on their head. As for holding the crosshair a little bit out from the wall, if they swing you, that plus your reaction time means that when they swing you, they'll be right in your crosshair. You basically want to give yourself a little bit of room for if they're going to peek you. Holding it too close to the wall, you're going to miss because they're going to swing past it, and if you hold it too far, they're just going to peek right here and you're going to die. If I'm going to be watching jungle, maybe like that, I'm going to go check con, right? And remember, head level is not always, just directly in front of you. For example, if I'm aiming bottom con stairs, this is kind of around head level. One big thing to note is there really ever shouldn't be a reason that you're not doing crosshair placement. Like looking at the ground or looking at the wall, there's really pretty much zero reason to be doing that ever. You should always just be, head level, a little bit out from the wall, just ready for anything. So that's really it when it comes to actual mechanical aim. We're going to get into other aspects of aim that are just as important, which is movement. And I know a lot of people think oh, movement is just kind of the way that you move your character, which is true, but it also has a big impact on being able to aim and shoot your opponents and also being able to not get hit as often. So one big thing that you need to realize is that when you're peeking, you should really only be peeking with A and D. Now just watch kind of how I'm going to clear these angles while I'm coming up on a site, okay? I'm going to be actually clearing an angle, like peeking it, maybe I'll do a little bit of under. Maybe I'll come up, do that, I'm really only peeking with A and D, but you should really only be peeking with A and D, because if you're peeking with W, you become sort of a easy target to hit. What's going to be harder for me to hit if he's walking straight towards me, where his head is just going to be right in my cursor, or if he's moving left and right. So basically you're going to be more difficult to hit if you are peeking with A and D. You'll also be faster, and I'm not going to explain the math behind it, but here's a picture, I guess, that you can look at. There's actually one other big reason that you should only use A and D, and that is because there is another big component into peeking called counter-strafing. You'll notice that it takes time for me to accelerate and decelerate as well. If I'm peeking, let's say jungle, and I'm going to run out and I'm going to peek like this, you'll see that I kind of slide to a stop, right? And that's not really what we want, because you're still going to be inaccurate while sliding. So the key to do this is counter-strafing, which is where if you look at my overlay here, if you're peeking in a direction, you let go of that key and you press the opposite key. So if I'm going to peek with A to the left, I'm going to let go of it and I'm going to tap D like this. Like that, and notice how much quicker I come to a stop. Even if I were to do full speed, let's say, you're forcing yourself to slow down very quickly, and therefore your shots are going to be accurate sooner than if you had just been letting go. If you've never counter-strafed before, counter-strafing is something that's just not maybe intuitive and that you should be doing all the time if you're going to be peeking angles. You're trying to get a balance between being able to shoot your opponent very accurately and not dying. So another quick thing is types of peeks. When I talk about a normal peek, that includes counter-strafing. I mean, really, unless I say otherwise, all the peeks that you should do should be with counter-strafes. There's the normal peek, which is just like this. There's the crouch peek, which is a little bit more committed. Or if you're trying to, I guess, be a little bit more accurate, maybe I'm fighting somebody on cat, right? I can crouch to become a little bit more accurate with my shots. Fastest peek possible is going to be one where you're closest to the wall. You give yourself a little room to accelerate, and then you peek. Obviously, there's different ways to do it. You can swing wide, like Centera's peek, pass their crosshair, and then counter strafe and shoot. There's shoulder peeks, which is where you're just showing your body. You're not actually trying to shoot anyone. You're trying to bait out a shot. Your body is quite big, right? If I want to shoulder peek maybe this bottom con, I don't want to stick my head out at all. I shouldn't be able to see the person when I'm shoulder peeking. I should be able to just stick my body out right before I can see the angle. Kind of like right here. Right before the angle, and hopefully you'll bait out a shot, and you can use that against oppers, you can use that against riflers if you want. There's a bunch of different types of peaks. It's important to know when to use them. I was talking earlier about the trade-off between shooting your opponents, being able to hit your opponents, and making yourself harder to hit by moving, strafing left and right, you know? If you're going to be in a gunfight, you're not trying to put yourself out in the open. You don't want to stand still, right? Like if I'm doing a gunfight, I need to make myself hard to hit while also trying to aim at him and be able to shoot him. Strafe back and forth, maybe bait out a shot. Do a little pre-firing. If they know that I'm here, you know, it's not bad to pre-fire. Positioning is also very important. Positioning will help you in gunfights as well. The first big thing I want to talk about is perspective. Let's say I'm standing here. Right now I cannot see the angle. I cannot see the person peeking. But if I were to place a bot here, let's say, in the exact same spot, and now I come all the way back here, and I peek this window angle, you can see very clearly that I can see him. But he wasn't able to see me at all. And this is because of if you are closer to an angle, your opponent is going to see you before you can. You want to be peeking farther from angles. Ninja, let's look at Ninja, right? Someone standing Ninja, I mean, they can see here, right? And so now if I back up here and I clear this, I'm definitely going to be able to see someone standing on that corner right here. So if there's times where you're like, oh, I can't even see him, how did I die? And you're standing like this, that is how you died. Another big one is isolating fights. So isolating fights is really important, and that's how you win 1v2s, 1v3s, whatever. You get the idea. Let's say there's a guy jungle in CT. If I'm standing right here, this is not very good because both of them could peek out at the same time, or even one could peek out and trade. So what you should be doing instead is trying to isolate these fights. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different ways to do it. If I want to fight CT and I know there's a guy jungle that I don't want to fight, I'm going to stand behind here. I'm going to put this box between me and the other player. Or I can do the reverse. I can put this box between me and CT, and then I can fight this guy. If I know there's a guy CT, he's not going to be able to fight me unless he swings out close. So isolating fights is very important because it means that you can't get peeked from multiple angles at the same time. Good rule of thumb for you for isolating angles is to try to stay close to a wall where you're isolating them. So usually what you can do to isolate fights is to put boxes and other walls between you. So if I don't want to fight stairs and connector, I can stand on this side of triple, and that way I can fight CT. Trading is very important. I'll just go over that briefly. Trading is just a thing where if an enemy killed your teammate, you try and kill that enemy to sort of, trade the kill. Trading is very important. You should try to do it if you can, because numbers advantage is huge in a game like this. My teammate's playing Firebox, and then if there's no one Palace and my teammate dies from ramp, well, I know for a fact that the guy who killed him has to be either, along this line to be able to see him, or he's, up here on Tetris. The guy's ramp, if I'm not peeking and he's not peeking, they have to come out at least this far to be able to see him. So if he dies, I can try and swing out and get a kill. So trading is important because it makes it so that your teammate's not dying for nothing. For clearing angles, really quickly, I've heard the term slicing the pie, where you're supposed to kind of like do this spot, and then do this spot, then do this spot, then do this spot. It's very important. You do this one, and then if that looks clear, then you can try that one. Try to peek into one angle at a time, far from the wall. Here, maybe stairs, sandwich. So now I'm going to kind of do a little jiggle peeking. Maybe here, right there, here. Really quickly, another positioning thing is on angles versus off angles. On angles is where people are going to be pre-aiming. So if I'm a T, right, and I'm clearing jungle, clearing stairs, maybe I'm clearing down here too, and then I'm clearing stairs, and so stuff like these are on angles. Now an off angle is somewhere where you're not expecting an enemy to play, and so off angles are good for surprising your opponents. If there's not a lot of cover here, I get mollied out, right, kind of be screwed. It will be very surprising, and maybe I can get 1 or 2 picks and then die, as opposed to an on angle, which is where you can strafe back and forth, peek in and out of it. And then if they're coming up, you have this cover, or you have at least a bit of a spot to fall behind, right, before they start coming up to sight. If you're playing an off angle, you can just kind of sit here and hold it, because hopefully your opponent's not expecting it. If you're playing an on angle, you shouldn't just be holding it. And you definitely shouldn't be holding it static because of peeker's advantage. If I'm going to peek it, as a T with peeker's advantage, boom. That guy doesn't really have the time to react because I'm pre-aiming it, I'm ready. So instead what you can do is you can wait, right? You can kind of peek in and out. You can try to timing them, right? Peek it every so often. Not just statically holding it and trying not to just stand still either. Because what you're hoping for with this peeking on and off is that he's going to be clearing, okay, I'm clearing bench, and now as he's going to clear back sight, that's when you peek out and then you timing him. And so it's kind of this game of who has the peeker's advantage, where the T's are trying to pre-aim and swing you, and you, if you're holding an on angle specifically, need to be trying to timing them. So there's very different ways to play on and off angles. Basically, you're just trying to not be predictable, staying alive, which is very important. I mean, obviously, it's good to get picks. If you can get one, if you can get two, yes. Don't be trying to like if I'm sitting here on stairs, right, and maybe there's a guy, you know, he peeked out and I was able to timing him, but I just missed my shots. Now he's gonna know I'm here, but also the rest of his team that's gonna be pushing up A. So what I should do instead is maybe not play here, but instead, you know, maybe back up a little bit. Maybe I can go in front of the stairs here. Obviously, this is risky because I'm very close to the wall. If we have mid control, you know, I can come down to this connector spot and play that instead. A little bit of a headshot angle. Maybe I smoke this behind me. And if I try to re-peek this and they know I'm here, well, I'm going to be pre-aimed. And it's, again, one of those things where it's like, I'm just peeking into the guy's crosshair. I'm going to die. Having sort of a fall-off plan, what are you going to do if they start coming up? Better that you stay alive and play maybe a 5v whatever retake than it is to die. Completely give up sight, lose the pressure from this side of the map or this side of the site. I'm going to quickly talk about utility. It is very important, but I'm not going to explain it to you because I think you guys understand more or less the basics of it. But you really should buy it. It's very crucial for a lot of things. Flashes are good for blinding your opponents. You should throw them high and behind your teammates. So for example, if I'm a CT playing Mirage, right, and maybe someone's fighting triple stairs, you know, they're going to try and peek out. What I can do is throw a flash over here, because it'll blind anybody coming from ramp and palace, right? Because it'll pop right here. It won't blind your stairs player, and it won't blind anyone maybe ticket or triple. When I talked about re-peeking, not re-peeking, you can re-peek with a flash. They're going to be holding you stairs, right? And I miss my timing. Then guess what? Now he's watching me, and now I swing, and now he's blind, and now he's dead. Smokes. These are not a wall. People can still run through them. They're used to block vision. So for example, if there's anyone deep jungle or in connector or, you know, whatever, if I'm creeping up onto site, I don't have 3 angles that I have to worry about. Now the only way that someone can come peek me is if they walk upstairs, which I can hold, or if they walk through the smoke, which if they do, I'll see them before they see me and I can adjust my crosshair. It's one of those things where you're just using it to block vision and help you isolate angles, just like we talked about earlier. Blocking off oppers, also very helpful. Molly and nade are very useful for clearing angles, right? Like, let's say I want to push onto site without having to clear under, right? My teammate's going to come through palace, he's going to clear that, but obviously we have to clear under. Instead of trying to force myself into this kind of dangerous crossfire that could be happening between jungle and under palace, I can instead, you know, I can molly it, and then no one's there. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to pre-aim it, and instead I can focus on pre-aiming what's in front of me. Obviously, it's also good for flushing out people that you know, so if I know there's someone under, he's going to be mollied. Same with nades, you can use it to flush out, so someone could obviously tank this nade. They'd be really low, but they could still be here. And also, nades are good in CS2 for breaking smokes. Oh my god, I can't see what the fuck is going on, they're pushing site. You can break it, and you can see through it. And then obviously there's mix-ups, and there's, you know, you can do things not by the book because people won't expect it, you know, quote-unquote, this guy plays weird, etc. It works because it works, right? Hopefully this kind of helped you guys out, gave you a little bit of a mechanical improvement. Obviously you're not going to be able to do all of these things immediately. It's going to take a little bit of time, but practice it in your games. Try to consciously think about doing it, improving on it, and it'll come to you naturally. So if you're looking for some more tips, you know, other than just my videos, obviously maybe I'm not the best teacher. I'm just kind of here to give you guys kind of the basics, but if you want some more videos, I recommend this guy who makes some pretty good guides about CS, to this guy who's also very good and has been making a lot of high quality videos recently, but he also has a lot of good general info in some of his older videos as well. So I recommend those. So yeah, that's about it.